Hello friends and greetings for today. Welcome back to another tutorial on our software testing bootcamp where we are talking about the fundamental concepts of testing. We are in chapter 3 talking about the test types and the test levels and continuing ahead with the discussion on 3.2 non-functional test levels. In our previous discussions, we discussed about what is performance testing and now taking another subject to talk about as the next level, that is usability testing. In order to talk about usability testing, we would like to give you a quick, simple definition to what exactly usability testing is all about. Given that this is one of the quality characteristics, also falls under the non-functional testing, and it is pretty important to understand that what exactly could be usability, and given that any application which we are developing, how usability could be more important and crucial to be taken into account before delivering a particular product into the market. Now, usability, as the name suggests, stands for ability to use, or in simple term, user-friendliness. Now, an application has to be tested to make sure that the target audience finds it user-friendly enough to work on this application. Now, user-friendliness can be certainly defined for any number of users or any type of users, but can it be made able to everyone? It depends on the target audience. Sometimes the applications are specially built for a certain group of people, and if they are able to use it, you call it as user-friendly for them. It's not necessary that a different group of people can still use it or not. For example, an application which is used by banking staff are specially meant for the banking staff itself. If a general user or maybe a doctor is given with that particular application, they may not able to do anything on that application too. Though they have some medical equipment which they pretty much know how to operate it, which a general banking staff cannot certainly operate. So given this understanding, we understand one thing from here, that usability is always dependent on the target audience. We first have to identify who is our end users or target audience for whom we are building up this application and try to build the user friendliness according to that. In order to talk about the aspects of the usability testing, it generally gets described into 3 different sections. Usability as the key characteristic, user experience, which generally the team or the end audience has while using the product, and accessibility of the sub-characteristics of usability. Now, usability is of course the user friendliness, that the people find it convenient enough to operate it, perform the necessary activities, and complete a given task. When it comes to user experience, it certainly goes in line with understanding of that what kind of experience will the user have while working on it. Will they find it really delightful, or will they be just doing the formality of completing some activities and drop out from your event? It's more talking about that how much time do you really spend on those applications? Are we attracting people to come back to our application or not? So this attractiveness, addiction to the particular product, and bringing that audience back to your product is what we include in the user experience. Certainly, when you talk about some crazy games out there, as on today, for example, you talk about PUBG, you talk about anything else, which are so crazy enough, which make people to come back every now and then. To a certain extent, a Candy Crush game was also so addictive that people had a great experience playing it now and then whenever they had some time to play that game, right? But when it comes to a professional application like using your softwares, using your testing tools, you may not find it addictive itself, or maybe you may not find it interesting enough to come back to it every time. That's where we say that user experience may not be good. Even if you want to try to relate it to a real world second scenario or example, that if you go to a shop and the shopkeeper takes your extra care when you step into the shop and helps you to understand what are you looking at and helps you to assist with the right product, then you feel happy and you say that you had a great experience going to this particular shop. On the other hand, if in case we are talking about a very bad experience, I think we don't prefer to go there again. The third option is accessibility, where we add on something more to the existing product in terms of that the product is accessible to differently abled users as well. Now, differently abled users means that there are users who come with specialities and specially abled, and they may not be able to use system as a regular user or as an ordinary user. For example, when you talk about the Braille as a language engraved on the elevator buttons, it certainly means that a blind person can also operate the elevator and reach out to the desired floor. Even if you talk about the audio jacks associated in an ATM machine, it certainly helps the people who have kind of problem with reading the text on the screen, but they can pretty much hear and operate the ATM machine using the audio signals or audio sounds that, hey, please enter your PIN, please select an amount or enter the amount, and so on. So accessibility options are everywhere possible. It is everywhere visible to you, subjected you want to give that access to your differently abled users as well. It's also there in the Windows operating system, where you find the accessibility options like narrator, on-screen, keyboard, magnifier, hotkeys, sticky keys, etc. So that also is a part of usability, which is adding user-friendliness of application to some specially abled people. On the other hand, when you talk about the accessibility and other following part of the usability testing, how exactly these can be tested. So there are some standard approaches which we use for usability testing. Number one, usability testing itself. That means by having real users or having group of people who are having the mindset of the end users precisely. Okay, this is not we are comparing to our regular testers. We're talking about a specialized group of people from that background who will be testing the system and coming up with their set of issues, saying that if I'm a banking user, I think I'll get stuck here. If I'm a medical user, I'll get stuck here. So doing a real validation by executing the application, working on the application, and coming up with a set of defects from the usability perspective is the number one approach. On the second option, you have usability reviews, where user friendliness can also be reviewed by reviewing the requirements. In fact, you have heuristic approaches to review the design. You can even review the requirements to see if we have all necessary information to define the expectations of the end user. Third, but not the last, you can also collect information from various reputed organizations which collect consistent data from the real users, that what do they expect to have in a particular application. So a lot of organizations can look forward to collect these surveys and questionnaire data from them, and they can accordingly make set of requirements or user friendliness definition to their particular product, which altogether tells us that usability testing is another quality characteristics, but yet important to be implemented as a part of many applications. But sometimes it does become that not all the non-functional levels are mandatory enough. Subjected, a client wants to invest a lot of money there and want to perform these levels, we will do this. If in case not, we may not be performing all the non-functional levels. So this is where we just have to recognize and understand that what non-functional levels are in the scope, and we have to perform the necessary steps and execution. So I hope you got a good understanding of what is usability testing. We'll be coming back with another few non-functional levels to just give you an insight, and we'll be elaborating more about them. So that's all from this particular tutorial team. Should you have anything else, feel free to comment below. I'm always there to address your queries and answer them well. Till then, keep learning, keep exploring, keep understanding the context. Thanks for watching the video, team, and happy learning.